there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsdon.
And I'm Joe Scherzer.
We're recording this episode on St. Patrick's Day. It'll come out the following Monday, but on this St. Patrick's Day, for our St. Patrick's Day episode, I think it's time we honor the greatest Irish character of all time.
Yes, indeed. Of course, we're talking about Uncle O'Grimacy.
Uncle O'Grimacy, the
Shamrock Shake mascot.
a true patriot, a true hero.
Hero of the Irish Republican Army.
He looks just like Grimace, except he's green.
He carries a shillelagh and wears a fun little hat.
Yep, and he's I don't know, he looks furrier than Grimace.
A little bit, yeah. I think it's because he's supposed to be older.
Yep.
A little more shaggy.
Yeah.
Yes, he also hates the British.
He hates the British, which I mean, I don't know, I'm torn on the British. But
I mean, let's just be honest, it's a garbage island.
But yeah, anyway, that's that's it for that. Let's get into our episode to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and we'll talk about our St. Patrick's Day movie, 1988's Maniac Cop.
What are you, some kind of maniac cop?
We got one of those maniac cops on the loose. We watched this on Pluto. I think it's streaming a couple free places at the moment. We'll start with the biggest name stars. We've got Tom Atkins of Halloween 3 fame.
Yes, the fame of Halloween 3.
The best Halloween movie, and also the original Fog. And we'll see him again in the 2009 My Bloody Valentine remake.
Nice.
And he plays Officer Frank McRae.
Sounds like a tough New York cop.
Honestly, we might watch all three of those movies. We have a reason to watch Halloween 3, and we certainly have we could do Fog Day for an episode and watch the Fog. God, the Fog's so good. The original Fog is so good.
It's very good.
We also have a returning star, Bruce Campbell.
Who?
Yeah, that guy. He plays Jack Forrest. Last time we saw him was in Black Friday.
Yeah, that stupid store manager.
And we also have Richard
Oh, yes, him.
We've got Richard Roundtree, a.k.a. Shaft.
Shaft?
I'm pretty sure in my notes I have him written down as Commissioner Shaft, but he plays Commissioner Pike.
Who's the man gonna take down the maniac cop?
Captain Ripley in this movie is played by William Smith, which we will see him again in Uncle Sam Wants You Dead.
Interesting.
And another big-named star. And Uncle Sam Wants You Dead. That'll be probably a July 4th episode at some point.
Definitely.
Robert Zadar is Officer Matt Cordell. And people, you would just know him by looking at him.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you'll recognize him. Writer
Larry Cohen also did Uncle Sam Wants You Dead. Director William Lustig. We will watch another one of his movies for Maniac, the 1980 movie.
Yes.
Production company Shapiro Glickenhaus Entertainment was acquired by Troma and Lloyd Kaufman of Troma fame.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pretty sure they've at least been involved in a couple movies that we'll do over the course of time. And I think Lloyd Kaufman might have been a producer on the original Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yep.
So we'll see Lloyd Kaufman again soon, certainly. Also, Sam Raimi makes a brief appearance in the movie.
Yeah, you pointed that out. And now I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, that was him.
Yep. And trying to think, I think maybe William Lustig is. I think I saw he was the hotel manager, the motel manager.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Like they did a really good job. It's a small budget movie. I think it was only like a very limited release.
Yeah, it was pretty small.
But like I made a lot of money and I spawned 2 sequels, and we're actually getting a remake or a requel of some kind later this year. So
I think the budget was around 1.2 million. I remember reading.
Do you have anything else?
Well, I wanted to say the tagline real quick.
Oh yeah.
You have the right to remain silent forever. Also, I was just reading a little bit about the background of the movie. Larry Cohen wanted to make like a slasher movie, but not have it be like super gory. And he was like, and the one thing I knew was it had to be a cop. This is the killer this time, because it's always some kind of weird maniac or a monster. He's like, no, let's take something more realistic. How about a cop?
Yep, and hey, still as relevant today as the day it was made.
True.
So let's get into our synopsis here. Unless you have anything else, Jeff.
No, I just want to point out that what are you? Some kind of maniac cop?
One of those maniac cops I've been hearing so much about. We get our opening montage of Officer Matt Cordell getting dressed.
Yes. Oh yeah. Gotta get dressed. Gotta get that thing to feature length.
And it takes a good couple minutes to get through those opening credits.
It's a solid 3-4 minutes of a man getting dressed.
Well, obviously they're trying to go for like an iconic soundtrack. Like there's that whistling sound that kind of plays whenever the maniac cop is seen. That kind of plays in the background during the opening credits. Then we see Cassie, a waitress, getting off work. She refuses a ride home from one of the patrons at the bar she works at. Says, I'd rather face the muggers. She's been attacked by muggers.
I was going to say, turned out not to be a good choice.
She runs and hides from them looking for help and sees a police officer kind of standing in shadow, in silhouette.
Menacingly.
And she runs up to him to ask for help. And then gets a look at his face. We can't see his face yet, but she gets a look at his face and then gets like picked up.
Darth Vader choke.
Yep, and strangled, and then has her neck snapped. The next day, we see the two muggers being arrested, saying they didn't do it. It was some kind of cop, some kind of maniac cop.
Yeah, but none of the cops are going to believe that. They're like, oh, a cop would never kill anybody. It must have been 2 Puerto Rican guys.
Yeah, so Officer Frank McRae goes to the coroner, but isn't convinced that this was done by the muggers based solely off the injuries.
Yes, this is like, it looks like a Sasquatch snapped her neck.
You're telling me those 2 kids could have like broken her C3 and C4 vertebrae and crushed her larynx? I don't believe it.
No.
Also, it is mentioned that a lot of cops stopped by the restaurant she worked at.
Yeah, it seemed to be a popular hangout.
The next night, 2 hot young teens are making out at a red light. Waiting for the traffic to change when a cop walks up and taps on the glass.
Yeah. So
the officer gets off. Sorry about that. Brief interruption there. That dog of mine, he's a menace.
That dog of mine.
So we left off those 2 hot young teens for making out at a red light when a cop appears. He taps on the glass and asks the boy to get out of the driver's seat. And then the young man approaches him, and the officer like reaches into like pulls like a blade out of his billy club, and kills the boy, and then throws the body at the windshield, and the girl speeds away after running the windshield wiper blades and getting all the blood off of the windshield.
That was a pretty cool scene. Nice kill. I think that's also the point where there's like a news report of a lot of cops are getting shot or whatever because it's gotten out that it's a cop that's the murderer, and now people are paranoid.
I think that's a little bit later, because that's after, I believe, Officer McRae like gives the information to a news reporter that he had some connections with or something like that. Because Officer McRae goes and he talks to Commissioner Shaft, that tells him the theory that he thinks it's a police officer. But Shaft wants him to keep it on the down low. The next night, a guy is walking to his car when he gets handcuffed by a cop. The same cop pulls the billy club blade out, goes to stab the guy. The guy runs away and thinks he's escaped, but trips and falls into some concrete and or into some wet cement. And we see like the cop's gloved hand push him down and basically drown him in wet cement.
Also a cool kill.
And then that's when Officer McRae talks to... that night is when Officer McRae talks to the news reporter.
Shaft.
And kind of gives her all the information and says, hey, I think it's a cop.
Are you sure this is a cop? I don't think it could be.
And on the news report, she thinks it's some kind of maniac cop.
That could very well be.
And then we get a scene where like a lady's getting pulled over by a cop. Her car won't start or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the cop approaches her glass and she pulls out a gun and shoots him. Because she thought he was some kind of maniac cop. This is when we are then introduced to Officer Jack Forrest, getting ready to go out on patrol.
Yeah.
And I noticed kind of when he's getting dressed, it kind of mirrors what we saw of the Maniac Cop at the beginning of the movie.
And it's also showing that his wife seems to be like afraid of him and super paranoid.
Yeah, they've tried to go to couples counseling. His wife doesn't really want to go. She's clearly scared of him, and their marriage is crumbling. And she's convinced that he's the Maniac Cop. She's like kind of cut out all the newspaper headlines and stuck him away. And she gets further convinced of this because she gets a mysterious phone call from a woman, basically implying that
He's the maniac.
Yep, that he's going out to kill again tonight or something like that.
Yeah.
So Jack Forrest's wife follows him to a seedy motel, and after being able to get the keys to the room, she sneaks inside and finds out that he's having an affair with fellow police officer Teresa Mallory.
He's just having a garden variety affair.
She runs away, and we get a scene that's kind of reminiscent of Randy's Kill and Scream 2. Where she's pulled into like a van from behind. Like she kind of runs and like stops to catch her breath, and the Maniac Cop lunges out and pulls her into the van behind her.
Gotcha.
The next morning, housekeeping goes into that same room and discovers her body with her throat slit.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good. Those effects look really good.
It does.
That.
It looks good.
Jack is arrested on suspicion of being the Maniac Cop and killing his wife.
I didn't kill my wife.
Yeah, they find all those. They find all the cutouts that the wife had made, and like because she was convinced that it was him, and so they so they have all this evidence.
Doing typical police work, they go for the first and easiest suspect.
Officer McRae is convinced that Jack is innocent, even though he as of yet he hasn't ratted out that he has an alibi of Teresa. But shortly later, we get that cool scene filmed from the top of the jail cell. And like he tells him like, oh no, it's a woman on the police force. I don't want to ruin her good reputation.
Right.
And that's when he's like, oh well, who is it? And it's like, well, she's a better shot than you. It's Officer Teresa Mallory.
Yeah. Well, I gotta go find her and find out how this alibi holds up.
Yep. And so he goes to find her, and Teresa is out running a prostitution string.
Sting.
Prostitution sting. Oh my god, it's gotta be Sting. When the Maniac Cop appears and attacks her, he grabs her by the throat before pulling out his blade. Teresa is able to unload her pistol into him, and also Frank takes a couple shots at him as well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't appear to do anything. Teresa, at a bar, Teresa tells Frank that like his hands were cold even through the gloves that he was wearing. She could tell that he was super cold.
I definitely shot him in the head, and it did not stop him.
Yep, he was super strong, and he wasn't breathing. And we know that Teresa knows that she shot him in the head because she's a better shot than anyone on the force. Frank goes to talk to Sally Noland, an officer who does clerical work. She walks with a cane and a leg brace, and she seems very weird after Frank mentions that Teresa was attacked earlier that night. So Frank decides to tail her.
It's almost like she knows something about a maniac cop.
Some kind of maniac cop on the loose. He follows her to the docks, where we see her talking to the Maniac Cop, calling him Matt and talking about his plan to kill the mayor and the commissioner.
Sweet.
Frank then investigates Officer Matt Cordell, who was a hero cop who was sold out by the commissioner and the mayor, sent to prison. Also mentions that Matt Cordell's girlfriend is crippled herself trying to jump out a window after learning of Matt's conviction.
Yep.
Meanwhile, at the pier, we see kind of in shadows like Officer Matt Cordell sleeping or maybe just thinking to himself. We get these flashbacks of him getting convicted, sent to prison, and then attacked
and killed in the shower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Had another stop down. It's been kind of crazy here today in the studio.
It's almost like we're being terrorized by some kind of maniac cop.
Yeah, some kind of maniac cops trying to stop us from getting the news out. Meanwhile, on the docks, I think this is where we were. We see Matt Cordell sleeping, thinking about we get these flashbacks to him in prison. He gets attacked by like a group of guys in the shower and gets like, all
beaten to death.
Yeah, and he's able to fight them off initially, but they pull a knife on him. They're able to get the upper hand, and then they like cut up his face a bunch. Frank goes to talk to Frank and Teresa go to talk to Jack in the interrogation room. Frank stops by to investigate Sally, who he's pretty sure is working with the Maniac Cop.
I'm pretty sure you know something about a maniac cop.
Sally attacks Frank with her cane, and then starts screaming about like how she's useless now because he knows and
Right.
everything like that. We see evidence that Officer Cordell, the Maniac cop, is already there. Mm-hmm. As we see like a police officer like hung with his own necktie or something like that. We then get a really cool kill as like Sally is pulled through the glass behind her. And then like as Frank enters the room, like Officer Cordell's like slamming her head into like the wall. Yeah. Frank and Cordell start fighting, and Jack and Teresa kind of overhear the screaming and the commotion. They find more dead bodies of police officers. We get another one where like Officer Cordell had clearly like just forced the police officer's head into like the prison bars.
Yes.
And so they go up to talk to him and they tap on him and he just falls backwards.
Yeah.
Officer Cordell throws Frank out of a window, killing him, and Jack and Teresa are able to escape. Earlier on, I think Frank had admitted that, or had said that he had a interview set up with the prison coroner.
Yeah.
And so they go to keep that appointment, pretending to be Frank McRae. Mm-hmm. The coroner at first is kind of, plays kind of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for?
He plays kind of like coy, like he's not really sure what they're talking about, like this isn't a big deal. And it's like clear that he knows more than he's letting on.
Mm-hmm. And then it comes out that I think at one point the coroner is like, well, I'm going to need to see some ID. And they're like, well, we think Officer Cordell killed Frank McRae. We're not Frank McRae.
Yeah.
The coroner then picks up the newspaper and sees Jack Forrest's face on the front of the newspaper.
Oh, there's a thing about Officer Cordell I wanted to mention back when, before Frank gets killed. On his desk, this kind of casts a little doubt on the story because you can see a big stack of excessive force and brutality complaints against Officer Cordell. So it's like, I'm wondering if maybe the city got like afraid of him being like a liability, and maybe that's why they threw him in prison.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they threw him in prison with like all the
guys he put away, basically.
Yep. And so it was essentially a death sentence for the guy. So yeah, they go and they interview the coroner, and the coroner then admits, well, he wasn't actually dead. He was still alive.
He was kind of alive.
And he kind of stitched his face back together, but he had suffered some severe brain damage. But if they had put him back in the prison, he just would have been killed again.
Yeah.
And so instead, a woman who we know is Sally came and picked him up.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yep. We get a brief mention that it's St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah.
Because as Jack and Teresa are leaving, like the secretary for the coroner like comes up and is like, "Oh, you got to wear your green tie at St. Patrick's Day."
Yeah. Well, you have to give Officer Cordell a chance to have the police commissioner and the mayor in the same spot for some reason.
Yep. And so the mayor and the commissioner are going to be at the St. Patrick's Day parade. Teresa goes into the police station to try and convince the commissioner that it's Officer Cordell, but he thinks she's some kind of accomplice to Jack, and basically has her arrested while Officer Ripley and Commissioner Shaft are waiting for the elevator. They get jumped from behind.
Some maniac cop.
By the Maniac cop, and stabbed a bunch. Teresa then is like being escorted down the hall by one of the last police officers in the precinct. That guy gets stabbed. She's able to like run out onto the roof. She's chased by Cordell out onto the roof, and Jack, trying to kind of get everyone's attention, gets arrested himself.
I was gonna say, he alerts all the police, and like SWAT team guys standing around. They're like, "Oh shit, it's the Maniac cop!"
Yep. And so they all arrest Jack, and he's like, "No, you need to go help her. He's up there." And then throw him back in the back of a police wagon, and then the Maniac cop just walks up, tosses like the guy driving the police wagon out, and drives off. Teresa is then able to like commandeer a cop car, and they give chase, and they chase all the way through New York City down to the pier. Which strangely, the pier in the background, you see mountains.
Yeah.
Cordell fights with Jack and Teresa. He parks in one of the buildings in the pier, pulls out an axe, goes to attack Jack. That's when Teresa arrives with a gun, like fires a couple shots at him, I think with a shotgun.
Yep.
And then Officer Cordell basically picks up Jack, throws him into Teresa, picks up the shotgun, fires a shot at one of the other cops on the scene. And then he's getting ready to kill Jack and Teresa when he overhears backup coming.
What was that?
So he gets in the police wagon, decides to drive away. Jack kind of jumps on the side and they start hand fighting, and he's able to distract him enough. And Officer Cordell drives into like a big beam, like a big wooden post or something sticking out of the ground.
Oh, and when you got to remember, there's a little foreshadowing earlier on when Frank was investigating the Maniac cop down at the pier. The guy was like, this pier is so old and rotten, it'd collapse if you drove anything out on there.
Yep. And so sure enough, he like drives into this big like stick, and then like it just drives right off the edge, or like through like a hole in the pier. And they both go in. Jack then kind of gets out. They're then the police are on the scene. They pull the police wagon out, and Officer Cordell's not stuck to the big post anymore.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then we get a scene of his glove coming out and grabbing the side of the pier, and the camera pauses on it and freezes, and we get the creepy Maniac cop sound.
Maniac cop's not done.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Do you have anything else that we forgot in our synopsis, or do we want to get into our minutia?
No, I think we can move on.
All right. Let's start with Christmas sweater. Favorite costuming choices, set design, anything like that you want to mention?
Obviously, the Maniac cop looks amazing.
I think the Maniac cop looks very cool. Robert Zadar looks very intimidating.
Mm-hmm. The makeup helps a lot. And there's just something about that police uniform that makes you feel some kind of fear.
Yep.
I don't know what it is.
Makes you on edge. Tom Atkinson's mustache is on point.
Solid mustache.
Yeah, he has a great mustache.
I mean, Bruce Campbell, always solid.
Yep.
Looks good in the uniform.
The two muggers at the beginning, one of them wears a flannel vest and the other wears a denim vest.
Yeah.
They both look really cool. I want to wear those.
I knew you were going to point that out again. Man is obsessed with vests.
I don't have anything else for...
I mean, the kind of what I was... Like, some of the effects shots, like when his wife is dead in the hotel room, when the boyfriend gets thrown onto the woman's windshield.
Sorry about that. We had another stop down there. Hopefully that's the last one.
All right. I was mentioning some of the effect shots that looked really nice. Like the way his wife's body looked in the hotel room when they showed the after murder shot. When the woman's driving away and the body gets thrown into her windshield from the boyfriend or whatever it was. That looks really cool. When you see what happened to the Maniac cop before he became the zombified Maniac cop, like his injuries from the shower scene, that looked really cool on the autopsy table.
No, I agree. They did a really good job. Like that, I don't think a very big budget, and it looked really good. But yeah, let's get on to St. Patrick's Day spirit.
Yes.
How St. Patrick's-y is the movie. How St. Patrick's-y are the kills.
The kills are not St. Patrick's-y at all.
Yeah, he doesn't drown anyone with a shamrock shake or
dump anybody in a barrel of beer or anything like that.
Yep, doesn't murder anyone with Guinness or
strangle somebody with one of those shamrock plastic necklaces
or pinch someone to death. He doesn't do any of those things for not wearing green.
He doesn't try to lead anyone to a pot of gold and then murder them.
No, just general kills.
Yeah. And as far as the movie, basically, other than the throwaway line in the parade footage at the end, you wouldn't even know that it was St. Patrick's.
No, exactly. It's not very St. Patrick's Day at all. I think there's one scene where we're getting like a news report.
Yeah.
And there's some like shamrock designs by the TV stand and stuff like that. Like the bar's clearly getting ready for St. Patrick's Day.
Not St. Patrick's Day is like basically this movie could be set at any time.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's very the dorm that dripped blood, where you wouldn't know it was Christmas if they didn't say it a couple times. This is the exact same thing. You wouldn't know it's St. Patrick's Day if they didn't mention it.
Honestly, I think it was what I just said earlier. They were like, we need a reason for the mayor and the police commissioner to be somewhere at the same time. Oh, the St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, we'll just say it's St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. Broken bulb, brilliant bulb, one thing you would fix and one thing you want to shout out?
Oh, well, the one thing I would fix is it's way too hard to identify the Maniac cop. I kept wondering, is this the Maniac cop? They're all behaving like maniacs. I can't identify the Maniac cop.
I would have the one thing I would have fixed my broken bulb is that I would have liked to have seen more of Officer Cordell's rampage through the police station when he fights McRae, and then we kind of see all those bodies. I would have liked to have seen him like doing more with that. I think that would have been really cool.
No, that was when I was debating whether to do a joke or serious brilliant bulb. That was one of the things I thought. I was like, it would have been nice to see him kill some more people.
But yeah, that's kind of it's a small complaint, but I would have liked to have seen that dude get his face pressed through the police bars, like him strangle the dude with his own tie and stuff like that. I would have liked to have seen more of
That
that.
would have been cool.
Brilliant bulb.
My brilliant bulb was just how well they kind of misdirected you into thinking that Frank was going to be the central character of the movie and then have him killed off about halfway through.
No, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, because it seemed like, oh, this is going to be your typical cop investigates killer drama.
There was one thing I wanted to kind of shout out, but I think I'll do it a little bit later. I'll save that for kind of my later review. But my brilliant bulb is just the cast. The cast really knocks it out of the park. Everyone does a really good job.
Yeah,
And when you've got Bruce Campbell, Robert Zadar, Shaft,
Tom Atkins.
Yeah. You've got all these great people. Like they all do a great job. It's an excellent movie.
It is. I agree.
Which is a shame because Bruce Campbell really doesn't like it all that much.
Well, honestly, I get the feeling that Bruce Campbell does not like a lot of the things that he does that a lot of people enjoy.
Moving on, Christmas carols, favorite quotes, favorite pieces of dialogue.
Oh, I know you've got one that I picked earlier.
I got oh shoot, hold on, let me pull mine up.
I'm pulling up my list as well.
All right, when Frank McRae goes to investigate, tails Sally and finds her at the pier, there's a security guard and the guy's like, and he asks Frank what he's doing there, and he's like, I'm taking a leak. And the guy goes, you always take a leak with a gun in your hand, you'll blow your balls off.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then a little bit later, a couple lines later, like the security guard's like, this place is going to hell. And Frank McRae's like, this whole city's going to hell. You can't take a pee anywhere anymore.
Yeah, I do remember pointing that out at the time. I was like, I gotta add that to my list.
Oh man.
I like the whole montage during the TV report of people being like, oh yeah, the Maniac cop. Yeah, cops kill people all the time and nobody gives a shit.
Right.
My brother got killed by a cop the other week because he had a shiny object in his hand. They thought it was a gun, so they blew his ass away. Which, not relevant to modern life at all.
The bar patron early on to Cassie, like, are you sure I can't give you a lift? And Cassie goes, I'd rather face the muggers.
When Tom Atkins' character Frank initially sees the body of the waitress at the beginning, and he's like, "Look at those hematomas." And it's like, what? That really stuck out to me.
When Frank's doing his investigation of Officer Cordell, and like the guy's like talking about like how he was a real. He was a real hero cop. Matt believed in the old saying, shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later, that same guy's like, they don't make cops like him anymore. He was one of a kind. And Frank goes, he still is.
Yeah. When Tom Atkins' character is talking to Commissioner Shaft, and Commissioner is like, tell me something. When's the last time you had a mental test? And he's like, anytime, Commissioner. And then he's like, as a matter of fact, didn't you try to shoot yourself a couple years back? And then Frank's like, gun went off. And it's like, what? This nice casual conversation about him trying to kill himself. Right. And he's still just an active duty detective.
Oh, man. Yeah, otherwise, anything else? Anything else we missed before we get into our final ranking?
I don't think so.
So yeah, final ranking. We rank these movies off of one of three categories. We rank them off of either ho 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 hilarious, seasonally scary, or you will be sorry. For my ranking this week, I did seasonally scary. I think it could have been ho 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 hilarious. I think there were opportunities, but the song that plays is really creepy. They do a thing. This is kind of what I would thought maybe would be my brilliant bulb. They do that thing where they obscure the Maniac cop's face.
Yeah.
For most of the movie, you don't never get a clear look at him right up until the end. So like in your mind, you're trying to wonder, what does he look like? What did they do to him? His face was all cut up. Kind of the same thing with Freddy Krueger. You don't see his face much till the end.
True.
And then you do, and you kind of see what the monster really looked like. And when you do see him, he does look really creepy, like Jeff said.
Yeah.
And so that, and then also, seasonally, or I'd also say seasonally scary, just because it's a shame that the all the people talking about not being able to trust cops and not being able to being worried about getting shot for having a shiny object in your hand, that stuff's still relevant almost 40 years later.
Mm-hmm. Well, I went ho 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 hilarious for my rating, as I enjoyed the aspects that they try. It seemed like they really tried to make it like a scary, mysterious killer, but I didn't quite get there for me. I thought it was more, especially the kills, like when he snaps people's neck, like Darth Vader and stuff like that at the beginning of A New Hope. And I thought that was kind of funny. And I mean, just the casual banter between the cops was hilarious. Like that quote I just read about them talking about him trying to kill himself and everything. And yeah, all the lines about that are still so relevant today about how the cops will just shoot you for no reason, or if you step out of line,
Right.
And the fact that whole praise, they're praising Officer Cordell as a great hero cop when it seems like he was like an incredibly brutal cop that had so many people locked up in prison that just like literally the first day he steps into a prison, there's a gang of people waiting to kill him,
Right.
for the way that they were treated by him. And it's just, I mean, like Robert Zadar, very intimidating presence, and a lot of the movie is played straight. They don't really play it for laughs, but I still thought it was pretty funny.
Right.
More funny than scary for me.
And certainly, I think made funny. I think it was made funny because we watched it together.
Yeah,
and like,
that's true.
I think if we had watched it by ourselves, I think maybe wouldn't have been as silly. But you and me just constantly being like, I hope it's not some kind of
Maniac
cop. I think that I certainly for me, like I when I was rewatching it, I was like, oh, I remembered having more fun. Oh, it's because Jeff and I were being goofballs the whole time we watched it the first time.
That's true. That does affect the movie sometimes, but no, it is a really nice change of pace to have a movie like this that doesn't take itself completely as like a comedy. Because, a lot of B-movie slashers just are like jokes, even in the universe of the movie themselves. Mm-hmm. This one definitely takes the Maniac Cop seriously. There are some pretty brutal kills in it, but like I said, I just found it more funny than scary.
So let's do our naughty list. We take the villain of the movie and rank them on a naughty list against all the other villains we've done. I guess our first discussion is... where do we put Officer Matt Cordell on the list?
Where do we put?
Is he
cop?
Is he the villain? Is the criminal justice system the villain?
I was gonna say the city of New York might be the villain. I don't know.
True, man. City of New York, that'd be pretty high on our list.
It's pretty brutal. Just below Apocalypse.
I think that'd just be I can go with that. I can go with the city of New York being our villain.
Yes. I think so.
I mean, yeah, like it was their decisions that caused Matt Cordell to
they spawned the Maniac Cop.
Yep. And then they had to pay for the consequences.
I was to say, they spawned both sides of the Maniac Cop. They made the Maniac Cop enforce the law like a maniac. Then they betrayed the Maniac Cop and had him resurrected as the undead murder machine that destroyed the city.
Oh, man, and then he comes back at least 2 more times.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know from reading ahead that the third one he comes back with the help of a voodoo priestess.
Oh, man, so exciting. I've seen the second one. I've not seen the third one, so it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting if/when we get there. But yeah, I can go with that. I can go with kind of the city of New York being the villain that spawned the whole thing. We've got precedent for that before, so I'm okay with going for that. Yeah, we'll just put the city of New York above, Cockney Santa and Mrs. Claus, and below, the literal apocalypse.
I was gonna say, if we had to rank
an alien invasion,
the Maniac Cop himself as the villain, I would say he would probably fall somewhere around like Michael Myers level. Mm-hmm. Seems like he's similar to that power level.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, we'll kind of keep both of them there. And also this one being a St. Patrick's Day movie, it kind of gets a more of an honorable mention, but Maniac Cop 2 is a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Christmas horror movies that are number 2, every episode of this podcast, we either shove some junk food in our face or clean out our email inbox in a segment we like to call
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
This week, Jeff, we have an email.
Oh, really?
So your wife won't be mad at me for making you eat more crap. This email is saying, "Hey, horror for the holidays. I saw on social media that Jay and his wife saw Scream 6. I'm assuming Jeff has seen it too.
I have.
What'd you guys think? We'll kind of do a spoilery review.
Mini Scream 6 review. If you don't want to hear about it, turn it off now.
Yeah, if you don't want to hear our thoughts, just skip ahead to the end or turn off the podcast. What'd you think, Jeff?
Solid. I liked it. I think a little bit better than the last one.
Same. I was in the same boat. I think I mentioned to you, and I'd said to my wife, I was like, Jenna Ortega's in this movie. Like, I don't remember her being in it. And my wife was like, yeah, she's the younger sister. And I liked Sam and Tara much more in this movie. And I think it's because the last movie, I was so worried about Gail and Dewey and Sydney. And like, when will those characters show up? I don't want to deal with these loser new characters.
Right.
They don't matter to me. And like this time around, okay, I knew we weren't going to get Sydney. I knew Gail was going to show up. Dewey's dead. So, okay, like all right, I have to care about these characters, and they did a better job making me care about them. I'd like to go back and watch Scream 5 and see if I actually have more attachment to these characters now.
You probably will. And I think that's what makes Scream 5 an effective Torch Pass movie. I think because at the time you were watching it, you were focused on the characters you originally loved. But now that the new characters have taken over, it doesn't feel like it's, forced or anything.
I think they did a fun job with the kind of Halloween storytelling, like that, setting it at Halloween. That was a blast.
Yeah. I think in the same vein as Sam and Tara, Chad and Mindy definitely seem like better characters in this one.
I feel like you can't kill Chad and Mindy because, now Randy's sister has already had to bury her brother. Like, she shouldn't have to bury her kids.
True. Well, I mean, they're core 4.
Yeah, core 4.
Core 4.
I'd rather. Also, I think one of my problems with Jenna Ortega was I was like, no, that can't have been the sister. The sister was in high school. Like, Jenna Ortega's a small child.
Yeah.
And like, she's still a very small person.
Yes, it's true. But she is old now.
Yep. But yeah, I think that was one of my disconnects with like having a hard time with it was I'm like, no, she's clearly small. She's clearly a child.
I'm surprised that she didn't do the Wednesday Addams dance.
Oh man, there's still time. There's still a chance that we'll get it.
Is that Wednesday Addams?
Also, I loved Kirby being back. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was cool. It's like, wait a minute. Scream 4. Let me search back 20 years ago. Oh wait, it was only 10 years ago. Never mind.
I was also remembering I loved that they like accounted for Sydney's absence without doing anything.
Yes, just a little throwaway line from Gail. It's like, yeah, Sydney said, fuck off. I'm not coming here.
And I think you had mentioned you had called one of the killers.
Yes, the cop dad, as like he immediately stood out as suspicious to me, and he immediately stood out as suspicious to the characters too, because they're like, oh, my roommate's dad, who happens to be a cop, also happens to pull this case.
And I actually called I called the roommate, the girl roommate. I was like, I said to my wife, I was like, I think she might be one of the killers because like it's a real convenient excuse to like always be in her room with a boy that we know nothing about.
Right. Yeah. Well, and also the characters called the roommate lottery thing. It's like, oh, he just happens to be Chad's roommate.
Yep.
And that was good too. What was it? Oh, when Gail is questioning. It's like, do you work for the FBI? You're a child or whatever. I thought they did really good suspicion building for her, especially that misdirect at the end from the dad, where it's like, oh, she's gone insane. She hasn't even worked for the FBI for 3 months.
No, yeah, they had me convinced that Kirby was the killer.
Oh, I knew it, and they assumed that too at the end. But
and then the scene in Gail's apartment might have been one of my favorite times of the whole movie. I really enjoyed
really
that
good
part.
Although one line did not make sense to me when she's like, he didn't get me. Tell Sydney he didn't get me. It's like, clearly you're dying now.
Right.
I think he got you.
But we know that Gail survives.
Yes,
so
she survived barely.
Yep. But yeah, really enjoyed it. And also, you Scream heads out there, I saw a trailer on TikTok for a movie called Scream Live or Scream Live, something like that. And it is a Scream fan-made Scream movie set at Christmas, which looks like a blast. That's clearly something that we would talk about, but also it really makes me want a Scream movie that takes place at Christmas.
I mean, it's going to happen eventually.
Especially this one being based at Halloween time. I'd love to see a Scream movie at Christmas. I think that'd be great.
That would be cool. What did they say in this one? Oh, about Stu. It's like, she's like, oh, because she's like, it's the TV that killed Stu Macher. And she's like, yeah, if you believe he's dead.
Right. And then Kirby pushes the TV onto the guy to kind of prove, oh no, it could kill somebody.
It could kill somebody. But also, I like that they left the door open that Stu could possibly still be alive.
There was also a great moment because it is a Scream movie. It's a Scream sequel. It takes place in New York City, and we get a brief. I think we got like a brief glimpse of Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah,
like someone
we
was
did.
watching it on TV,
Yes,
and I was
that
like,
is-
"That's all I needed to see."
Oh, also, can we see Richie's stab movies? Like that one that was playing while in the background?
That'd be really interesting. I'd like
Like,
to see that.
I want to see some Richie's stab movies.
I wonder if those will be extras on the DVD or something. That'd be really cool. But yeah, that's I think anything else about Scream or
No, just it was solid, enjoyable. Look, I mean, they're gonna do another one next year because they're doing a trilogy thing like Wes Craven did. So,
but yeah, I liked it quite a bit. And I think
thoughts on whether Sam is gonna take up Billy's mantle or not?
I don't think so. I think I think that's kind of a fun misdirect, but
Yeah.
like
she discarded the mask at the end of this one, but honestly, it's like the thing where with the therapist where she's like, yeah, it felt good to kill him or whatever, and then this one, yeah, she totally had no problem murdering these people. So I'm wondering, it maybe because they mentioned that thing at the beginning where the killers call her as soon as they walk out of the apartment building after the dad just happens to find her driver's license at the other thing.
right.
And she's like, oh, so you killed them to protect us or whatever about the two idiots plotting to murder them to continue the film or whatever. And I was like, that would be an interesting idea if she becomes a ghost face, but like a ghost face vigilante and not necessarily like a murderer.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Also, I loved the opening kill. I spent the whole time kind of waiting, how we kind of get the stab kind of things at the beginning of the movies now. And I was like, okay, what are we going to do here? And I was real interested in like that whole thing just to have those two guys at the beginning of the movie be completely discarded.
Yeah. Well, no, I really like them setting up that long setup because it's like you knew it was going to happen. It's like this lady is definitely getting killed.
Right.
And then when he's finally like, you walked into a dark alley even though you teach us class about slashers.
And then the reason they killed her is because she gave Flash Thompson a C on his paper about Giallo movies.
Oh, he was Flash Thompson, huh? I knew he looked familiar.
Yeah, he was I think it was Flash Thompson in the Tom Holland Spider-Man
No,
movies.
I like the actual opening scene too. After he finds him dead in the fridge and he's begging for mercy or whatever, and he's like, "We have to finish the movie. Who gives a fuck about movies?" Screams.
Yeah, that was it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, I just kind of want to watch all the Scream movies again.
Yeah, I do too. No, because Amber doesn't think she's seen Scream 4 because she had no idea who Kirby was.
Okay.
And it's like, well, I wish I could tell you about Scream 4, but it's probably been 13 years since I've watched Scream 4. So I said maybe before the final entry in this trilogy comes out, we can rewatch all of them.
Well, and Scream 4, is kind of a who's who, like not big, but I mean, that was one of the first movies that I think Emma Roberts was like kind of a big star in, and I mean, she's in one of the best horror franchises, and for me, I loved that Scream Queens show that only lasted 2 seasons on Fox, and she's one of the stars of that. She's been in like American Horror Story now, like she does a lot of horror stuff, and I think that was probably like one of her first appearances. So that's.
Yeah, she's definitely solid.
Yep, and once again Kirby, and I mean, Scream 4. I think Scream 4 is probably one of my more favorite ones.
And Scream 4 is the one that the ghost face mask that's like made out of burlap is from, right?
Oh, maybe.
Because I remember, because I was a senior in high school in 2011, and I got that Ghostface costume for my Halloween party, and I had that burlap Scream mask.
Okay.
Yeah, because I still have that in my parents' basement.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I might have to watch it again too. But yeah, just man, it really made me want to watch Scream again.
No, I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch all of them.
But yeah, let's kind of wrap up here. Anything follow us on social media. You can follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
YouTube.com/horror for the holidays for audio backups of the show.
Yeah, we're all those places plus the Q app where we kind of leave short reviews of all the movies we watched, and we kind of let it decide.
The wheel decides our fate.
Yeah, for what movie we're gonna watch next. It makes it easier than Jeff and I sitting and humming and hawing.
Yeah.
So it has a little function where you can kind of spin this wheel, and it tells you what you put in a bunch of movies you want to see, and it kind of tells you what to watch next.
Scrolling endlessly through streaming services.
Yep, just sitting on Tubi and being like, oh, should we watch Good Tidings?
And then we watch a trailer and it looks terrible, and then we're like, no.
Oh, should we watch Nutcracker Massacre? Oh, let's watch Nutcracker Massacre.
See, it's better if we don't have a choice.
Right.
The wheel just tells us what we have to do.
I agree. So yeah, follow us all those places. We are at horror4 holidays. Yeah, send us an email at horrorfortheholidays at gmail.com.
Yes.
We'll include you in our garbage day segment.
Send us emails, you damn lazy audience.
And yeah,
5-star review us on your podcatchers of choice.
yeah, 5 stars. Write something like, man, these guys had to take a lot of breaks during this last episode. Yeah. They kept losing their place and stopping.
Well, to be fair, we were drunk because it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, we drank way too much Guinness. But yeah, that's it, I think, for this week. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
R.I.P. Jenny the Donkey.
Have a happy St. Patrick's Day, and thanks for listening.
Top of the morning to you.
Bye.